coast to pitch rugby, and she was physical, and the Irish, really good at it.
Look at this, he gets thrown back, but he's got the ball somehow.
Genius at work, it really is.
We'll talk about the try in a minute after we look at the TMO footage, but there's the reach from McCaw. Down goes the ball, charge up Morgan.
Pigs have the power, and as God has struck the hour, the day of judgment God is calling. Underneath the war pigs crawling, begging mercies for the sins. Satan laughing spreads his wings. Oh Lord,
Ladies and gentlemen, could you please take your seats as this event is ready to start? Ladies and gentlemen, could you please take your seats as this event is ready to start?
If you're going to be a good captain, then you've got a hell of a lot to learn. Being able to perform when it really, really counts, that's the bit that became a big challenge for me.
Welcome to your life.
He's almost like an explorer in a way. He wants to take the team to places that no one else has been before. He's an ordinary man, but he was doing something extraordinary.
First time I really understood who the All Blacks were was the '87 World Cup.
I can still visualise him on the floor, his eyes glued to the TV.
When he first arrived, he was not the most talented athlete, but what he did have was a massive desire.
You want to be an All Black? Let's write down a plan, mate.
You don't just want to be an All Black, you want to be a great All Black. And I was like, what? I just wrote GAB at the bottom.
Everybody wants to rule the world. There's a room where the light won't find you. Holding hands while the walls come tumbling down. Everybody wants to rule the world. The world.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Hyatt Hotel for this very special dinner event with Richie McCaw. My name is Mick Collis, and it's my pleasure to be your host for the evening. Just before we do start, just a special thanks to the captain's tables and our major sponsors tonight, Chris Ellison from Mineral Resources, Debbie Fiend from Lot 360, and Blair McHaffey from McHaffey Transport. Just please quickly give them a round of applause. Now, given we've got the world's best number 7 here with us tonight, there are 7 little bits of housekeeping that I want to get through quickly. So number 1, bathrooms, if you haven't found them, just out the doors and around to the left. Number 2, you'll notice your entrees are already served, so feel free to get stuck into those. Number 3, we'll have a live auction later, and we've also got a silent auction that will take place throughout the evening. Bidding is very simple. You don't even have to leave your seat. So I'm going to just quickly explain the process. There's 2 ways to do it. You can either scan the QR code that's on the leaflet on your table, or you can send a text. And what we're going to do tonight, if you can pull out your phones, because we're going to give away a signed piece of memorabilia signed by Richie McCaw, which is handy, to everyone that registers to bid. You don't need to bid. It's just if you register to bid, you're going to go in the draw. So it's the easiest competition in the world. So all you need to do is you just got to pull out your phone and you've got to send a text. So you just got to write rugby and then your name. So if it was me, I'd write rugby Mick Collis, and then you send that to 0458 678 678. We'll chuck the graphics up to give you a reminder of that as well. So you just write rugby and your name and send that to 0458 678 678, and then that's it. That's all you need to do. Then you can have a look at the, you can see what's available. You can see the current price and make your bid. There's little pictures now if you need that number. 0458 678 678, your name, the word rugby, and you'll go in the draw to win some signed memorabilia. Very easy. Number 4, Richie's going to make himself available for signings and some photos at the end of the day. So can I ask you to just please give him some space during the actual event itself so he can enjoy it. He'll give a fair chunk of his time at the end of the day with you, but if he can enjoy his dinner like the rest of us mere mortals, I'm sure it will be appreciated. And just important to note that any event merchandise or memorabilia that is purchased tonight, that'll get priority just at the end when he is signing all the stuff. Number 5, when you do ask Richie to sign something, if you could please keep it simple. So if you write, Dear Mick, best wishes, Richie McCaw, that's great. But if you ask him to write, Dear Mick, thanks for being my best mate. You've taught me everything I need to know, and I really look forward to spending some time with you in the Christmas holidays. Your good mate, Richie McCaw. It's going to drag the night out a bit long, so try and keep your requests short. Number 6 is we'll have a business card draw as well. So if you haven't already put your business card in the big silver ice tray, it will end up back here on the stage. So just throughout the night, drop your business card in, because the prize is an overnight stay in a Hyatt Regency King Room and includes the club lounge valued at $700. So that'll be drawn tonight by Richie after we've spoken to him. And number 7, we're running a raffle tonight to support Muscular Dystrophy WA. That's our chosen charity for tonight. And thanks to Mark Hunt and the team for their support of T14 events. So yes, a round of applause for MDWA. And there's some great prizes, including an All Blacks jersey or a 2011 World Cup ball signed by Richie, 2 tickets in the Fit to Travel box with full hospitality at the Western Force game on the 28th of May, a twin pack of wine or a digital camera for the kids. Tickets are $10 each, 3 for $20, and the raffle will be gone again by Richie at the end of the night. And just see the people in purple that are floating around with those, and there's the big ice bucket right there. As I said, we've got a crapping, it's a good start. We've got a cracking evening planned, because apart from Richie, we've got another very special guest speaker. I know he won't mind me saying he's one of the best looking roosters on the circuit. I've seen him a couple of times myself, and I know you will enjoy his story later on. But to get us started, could you please just turn your attentions once again to the screens?
He's just an ordinary bloke from Koorau, but by God, he can do extraordinary things. He's a champion, probably been our greatest All Black in modern time, if not ever, and we've had some great All Blacks. So Rich, if you can come forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you keep the applause coming, and welcome to the stage, dual World Cup champion and former All Blacks captain, Richie McCaw. mate. That's not bad. You haven't said anything yet, and they're already standing up and applauding. Mate, I've got this grizzled old Wallabies fanatic fan mate of mine, and I told him that I was going to be introducing you to the stage tonight, and he said, I bet he comes in from the side.
Old habits die hard, eh?
So I'll let him know. But mate, welcome and great to have you here in Perth.
Yeah, thanks for being here, and thanks for everyone to come along. I guess I had to rustle up a few Kiwis. I'm sure there's a few here and a few South Africans floating around. So thanks for coming along. It's great I know it's taken a wee while to get here. We've had a couple of misfires, but yeah. No.
Yeah, I know. Like, can you believe it's been 2 years we've been trying to plan this thing?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Blame bloody prime ministers and premiers and stuff for shutting borders, but we made it, I suppose.
And I believe 90% of the tickets that were bought 2 years ago, you've hung on to be here tonight. So a big thank you to everyone that was patient. And obviously strange circumstances we're living in, but thank you very much for sticking with T14 and of course with Richie. Mate, when you see that video of Steve Hansen and then, you walk in here to, a standing ovation, how does it make you feel?
Wow, it's pretty humbling, really. Seeing that, I guess it's still, their hairs on the back of the neck stick up, and those periods, not so much, personal things like that, but the game, I don't actually miss the playing of the game, but I miss what happens afterwards, what happens before the anticipation. That's the bit you miss, and when you sort of see it like that, it sort of reminds you that it was pretty cool what we got to do, and if you could, you'd do it forever, but unfortunately you can't, and you can't do it without getting bashed around for 80 minutes. So, but I had a pretty good crack at it, and it's just, I guess, you get to reminisce occasionally and remember those things.
Look, as I said, it's fantastic to have you here. We'll have you back up on stage shortly, so great to see you. Go and enjoy your intro. Everyone else, enjoy your intro, and we'll be back with Richie very soon. Thank you. Well, good evening once again, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed your entrees. Plenty more food to come. There are some fantastic rivalries in world rugby. The Wallabies against the All Blacks is certainly one. England versus Scotland is another. But for me, the greatest rivalry in world rugby is not so much nation versus nation or team versus team. It's backs versus forwards. And as most of you would know, the forwards are the big, strong, tough, courageous, hard-working, charismatic, witty, intelligent, good-looking individuals who spend 80 minutes of every game selflessly trying to get the ball so they can give it to the backs, who either drop it or kick it away. And as an ex-rugby forward, my greatest fear was that my son would grow up to become a back. I think let him be a pimp or a lawyer if you must. But please keep him out of any jersey numbered 9 through 15. And it is something that I got quite worried about. It got to the point where I woke up with this headache that had hung around for days, and half a pack of aspirin wouldn't make it go away. And I knew the thing that caused it, and it made me feel depressed. It wasn't too much alcohol, just simply too much stress. So I rang my local doctor in my quest to get it fixed. A chat and some prescription drugs I thought would do the trick. I drove to my appointment, I've arrived in ample time, then sat and watched and waited till the next name call was mine. Walked into my doctor's room, he's checked me up and down, then he's peered over his glasses and asked me with a frown, "Are you worried your blood pressure might be up again? Or is your gout and hernia a cause of constant pain? Are you being bothered by your bulging lumbar disc, your slowly failing eyesight, or your subcutaneous cyst, your rheumatoid arthritis, or those ulcers on your tongue, your kidney stones, your fungus, or those dark spots on your lung, your low sperm count, your dodgy knee, that cancer on your hand, that rash around your anus, your grotesquely swollen gland? Well, surely then you're worried about your pending heart attack." "No," I said, "I'm worried that my son's become a back." He's only short in stature, and his thighs and arms are small. He cries when he gets injured, and he cannot catch the ball. He'd rather kick than tackle, and his nose is deadly straight. He'd rather hang out with his mum than drink beer with a mate. His ears aren't cauliflowered, and he will not tape his head. And every night by 8 o'clock, he's tucked up in his bed. He's fast and he's elusive, and the girls all think he's cute. And as for scrums and lineouts, well, he hasn't got a clue. His body isn't hairy, and he very rarely sweats. He'd rather read a book than play in winter when it's wet. He's never sculled a schooner, and he's quick to bite and scratch. He whinges, whines, and finds my Gary Owens hard to catch. He's never punched a punching bag or bench pressed his own weight or stacked the bar and squatted doing sets of 6 to 8. His head is bigger than his neck. He can't secure the ball. He's never seen a prop up close or drove a rolling maul. As I described the symptoms, my good doctor simply smiled. I said, "You do not understand. This is my only child." "I tell you, Doc, I'm worried. Is there something I can do?" "Give it time," my doctor said. "Your son is only 2. Thank you. Would you please welcome back to the stage, Richie McCaw. Oh, that's a change. Now, Richie, you've obviously played with and against some fantastic forwards in your time. And some backs. I'm going to throw some photos up on the screen, and I just want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind when you see them, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about them. So I'll start with the first one.
He's a beast. Probably, the story I'd tell about that is I was a secondary school kid watching him play at the 95 World Cup, saw the carnage he'd sort of left, and I thought, can't be that hard to tackle. First couple of times I played against them, I realised that's quite hard to tackle.
Now, you had a very long and distinguished career. He burst onto the scene, 95 World Cup, became a global superstar. Were you, when you made it into the All Blacks, was he someone you were genuinely excited to meet?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, as I say, I was at school, saw what he'd done at the 95 World Cup and seen what he'd done since. And then, as I mentioned, the first couple of times I played against him, it was quite a shock. But then the first All Black tour I went on, I obviously got to meet him, and one actually funny story to show you sort of the star he was, especially in Europe, is we arrived at a training ground. There was quite a few people, lots of people to see the All Blacks train. Oh, this is pretty cool. Got off the bus and I was sort of walking towards the ground. They all just sort of came running. I was like, oh, this is really cool. But they just sort of kept running past. And I looked around. It was Jonah just behind me, and you know, like it was amazing. Like the attention he got overseas was unbelievable.
Fantastic. Okay, next one.
He's an Aussie. No, the thing that comes to mind, he's been a great guy to play against. And he's probably he is the best at being able to latch onto the ball at the breakdown, better than anyone that I ever played against or with. And he single-handedly could really make your day pretty horrible if you didn't get it right. So you know, he was pretty good, and we always had to keep have a bit of a plan for how we would combat that, because he could make it a pretty difficult day.
So that leads to my question. You were heavily targeted during your career. Did the All Blacks target him?
Wow, we tried to to reduce his influence. Yeah, had a few theories on that. The main one actually was you just make him tackle. If he has to make the tackle, he's not on his feet to have a crack at the ball. So you kind of couldn't do that all the time. But if you're running and you're either going to run this guy or him, you'd pick him because he'd have to make the tackle. So that was one little way we did it.
All right.
Didn't always work.
Next one.
It's interesting. I guess had a perception of him before he first turned up in New Zealand to play rugby, and obviously as an athlete there was nothing, you know, amazing athlete, and you know, some of the things he could do, you know, no one else could. But what really actually blew me away is the perception you perhaps get from afar, is to, you know, you think it's all about him, and you know that you know, he's not really a team player. He's the complete opposite. He actually really is, and he'll do anything to, you know, ensure the team's successful and stuff. When he's been with the team, and yeah, no, he's a pretty good man to have in the team.
Was he the purest athlete that you think you played with or against?
Yeah, well, you don't want to be standing with your shirt off beside him, I'll tell you. So yeah, he's a pretty good nick, I'll tell you.
All right. We'll go again.
I don't know what it was about him, but he perhaps epitomised what the Springboks were about when it comes to physicality. I don't know, every time you tried to tackle him or you come to breakdowns, he'd just make it hurt. You know, his elbows and hips and that would just hurt. But one of the nicest guys, you know, I've had anything to do with, played against. Yeah, top man. But certainly he epitomised playing the Springboks.
I once shared a lift with Aussie Joe Bugner, who was a Hungarian boxer that Australians adopted. And the thing I noticed when I got the lift was just the size of his head. Now, if
he'd probably rival that, to be fair.
Comparison, yeah. It's because was he just hard? Was he just a hard human being?
Yeah, and he just loved the physical side. And I tell you, actually, I got lucky enough to play for the Barbarians. We played against the Wallabies. It must have been 2008, I think, at Wembley. And Jake White was coaching, so there was half the team was Springbok players. And for some reason, I don't know why it was, but the Springbok boys had no time for the Wallabies, and all they wanted to do was just hurt them. And being up close and seeing how passionate they were about doing that, it was actually quite fun.
All right, and the last one.
Well, he is a Kiwi we got rid of, so... he's a skillful guy, and yeah, he. I guess a lot was made around there was a rivalry or something between him and I. To be fair, it didn't really register with me, but it's probably more for people to write about in the papers. But I guess a bit of it came from when he gave me a bit of a cheap shot just before the World Cup in 2011, and probably all he needed to do when he came to New Zealand was say, I probably shouldn't have done that, and he got left alone. But he went the opposite way and caused him a bit of grief for a few weeks.
But he was relentlessly booed for that entire World Cup. Did a part of you feel sorry for him?
No. But the semi-final we played against the Wallabies, well, they kicked off, and he was getting a hard time before they even kick off. But then he kicked it out on the full first kick, and imagine what the atmosphere was like when that happened. I tell you, it was pretty cool. And he didn't have a great day after that either.
He didn't have a great tournament. Now, you've obviously played with some great players. Who was your favourite? Might be hard to narrow down, but who was your favourite player to play with?
Probably the guy I got to play alongside a lot, both for Crusaders and the All Blacks, was Dan Carter. And I know he's a back, but he was quite a good back. But, you know, when you're in the forwards and also as a captain, when you've got a guy that can control a game like he could, you know, he was, not only was he the traditional things as a 10 where you could, you know, kick and catch and pass, but he was pretty brave. He could tackle, and you know, he had a good idea of when to have a run, and it was pretty cool playing alongside a guy like that for a long time. So I sort of was pretty lucky to have had that throughout my career.
True. Now, Richie, thank you very much. We'll let you go and eat your mains, as can everyone else. And just one thing before we do thank him, there are a couple of issues with the bid. So if you're not sure just where the actual memorabilia is, if you walk along there's a pamphlet that's got the correct details, because some had some old details. So just head across to the memorabilia and that'll get sorted out. But yes, please thank you, Richie McCaw. Enjoy your mains. We'll be back soon. Thank you.
it's true. I live for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage our guest of honour, All Black legend Richie McCaw.
Thank you, everyone. Now, I've got a privilege of the next introduction. Long way to come to do an introduction, but there you go. Apart from being your MC, Mick Collis is an author, a poet, sports commentator, and he's also persistent. Took him 3 goes to get his driver's licence, 2 goes to get into university, 3 goes to get his surf life-saving bronze medallion, 3 girlfriends to get off the mark, and 42 years to realise his dream of playing for Australia. So he's going to come and share his story with you. So please welcome Mick Collis.
Thank you. Thank you. When I was young, I had a dream. To one day wear the baggy green, lips covered in white zinc cream, playing for Australia. To walk onto the MCG, 80,000 cheering me, heart rate beating frantically, playing for Australia. National anthem, tear-filled eyes, emotions that I can't disguise. My first test cap, a treasured prize, playing for Australia. Score the runs that win the game, teammates shouting out my name. A thrill I simply can't explain, playing for Australia. Cold beer in the dressing shed, a million thoughts raced through my head. Wouldn't care if I dropped dead, I'd played for Australia. To be one of the chosen few, to say I've made my test debut. There's nothing that I wouldn't do to represent Australia. And that's the truth, because it seems I finally made a national team, chased and caught the elusive dream of playing for Australia. Though it's not cricket, that is true. The game is known as Sudoku. Not what I'd hoped, but it'll do. I've played for Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mick Collis, and I was the vice-captain of the first ever Australian Sudoku team. Now, there may be some of you here tonight that aren't sure what Sudoku is, and while I wish I could stand here before you and say that Sudoku was a very ancient, hardcore form of martial art, a sport played by the very toughest of men, a sport requiring extraordinary levels of physical endurance, strength and courage. But if truth be told, Sudoku is a puzzle, and a very non-athletic one at that. The rules are pretty simple. Just use the given numbers as clues and fill in the blanks with the numbers 1 to 9 so that no number is repeated in any row, block or column. You'll find Sudoku pretty much everywhere. It's in most daily newspapers around the world. You'll find it in in-flight magazines. You can walk into a supermarket or news agency and find entire books dedicated to Sudoku. To give you an idea of its popularity on a global scale, if you Googled Pamela Anderson nude, not that you would, but just if you did. I did, but just to get that slide. You get around 14 million results. You Google Sudoku, 115 million results. Now, if you're still thinking being part of the Australian Sudoku team lacks credibility, consider this. It has been estimated more than 1.2 million Australians play Sudoku on a regular basis. In contrast, there's only around 300,000 registered cricketers in Australia. So statistically, based on a ratio between the number of people playing the game and the number of positions available, it is easier to make the Australian cricket team than it is the 4-man Australian Sudoku team. Like most kids growing up, my dream was to play for Australia, and I tried a number of different sports and failed at all of them in the pursuit of that dream. And while that was obviously disappointing for me, the people I felt the most sorry for were my parents, and I'll explain what I mean. I heard Stephen Bradbury speak at a function a couple of years ago, and you'll remember Steve won Australia's first Winter Olympic gold medal back in 2002, when the 4 skaters ahead of him fell at the final bend and Steve glided across the line to win. And throughout his speech, he kept talking about his parents. He kept thanking them and saying how fantastically supportive they'd been through his whole career. It's the same during the Summer Olympics. You see those poolside interviews and the young swimmers always talk about their parents. They thank them and go on about how fantastically supportive they'd been. Well, my parents were no different. But for every Steve Bradbury or Olympic swimmer who give their parents so much pride and so much joy, there's a million Mick Collises who give their parents absolutely nothing. And as I said, I played a lot of sport growing up as a kid. And when I look back at what I put my parents through and how little they got in terms of reward for effort, I just think those poor bastards. To give you an example, I played a season of cricket and the dream was to go on and wear the baggy green and open the batting for Australia. If you're not familiar with the way our batting lineup is put together, best batsmen are the top order, next best batsmen are the middle order, and then the bowlers make up the lower order, or the tail. And the worst batsman out of all the bowlers is the number 11. He's the last man in. I was a number 11, which is fine, except I wasn't a bowler. I was just a very bad cricketer. I mean, there was one weekend I've gone out to bat, bowler's bowled, I've swung, I've got a big outside edge, I've been caught behind and I'm out first ball. My mum sat there for 3 hours to watch me play cricket for 12 seconds. Walked off, put my bat down. My mum said to me, "That was better, Mike," because my mum calls me Mike. She goes, "That was better, Mike." And I said, "Mum, I got a duck." And she said, "But at least you hit it that time." That's a supportive parent. The sport I persevered with for the longest was rugby union, and I actually made a couple of junior representative teams, which made me think the dream of being a Wallaby and being part of the Australian rugby union team was within my reach. I'd eventually discover that selection in those teams provided nothing more than false hope, but at the time I honestly felt I was on the right track, and I was encouraged by people who showed me that it was possible. My best mate was Marty Roebuck, went on to play for the Wallabies and win a World Cup gold medal in 1991. I went to school with Gavin Robertson. He played Test cricket for Australia, won his first baggy green on a tour to the subcontinent in 1998. I played Colts with Dick Harry, who went on to play for the Wallabies and win a World Cup gold medal the year after Gav made his Test debut. Moved across to Perth to study, and my second row partner at the University Rugby Club was John Wellborn, who went on to play for the Wallabies, in fact became Western Australia's first homegrown Wallaby. Even my wife was playing for Australia and won a World Cup gold medal in 1995 as part of the Australian women's water polo team. So for me, as delusional as it may seem, playing for Australia didn't seem unrealistic, because I had all these friends doing exactly what I wanted to do. But when they were playing test matches, I was playing 4th grade club rugby, and when the realisation hit me that my rugby career had in fact peaked way back in the under-16s, I knew it was time to try another sport. So I chose swimming, and I was given the opportunity to race against a fellow by the name of Todd Pearson, who would go on to win a gold medal at the Sydney Olympics as part of the 4x200 metre freestyle relay team. And it was arranged for me to swim against Todd at the end of one of his training sessions over his pet distance of 200. It's on the blocks, dive in, I give this thing absolutely everything. And for the first 50 metres, I'm sticking with him. I'm thinking, how good's this? I turn about a body length behind him off the wall, slowly start to drop off the pace, and that was a pattern that continued for the next 3 laps. I touched the wall at the end of my 200, 30 seconds behind Todd. And I was ecstatic with that, because I thought if I can trim 7.5 seconds off each lap, I'm competitive. And I'm swimming world-class times. Todd then proceeded to tell me that he'd swum that race as part of his cool-down. And his time was in fact 40 seconds slower than his normal race time. Now in a sport where the difference between winning a gold medal and a silver medal can be as little as 0.01 of 1 second, I figured being beaten by 70 seconds, which was a minute 10, was a fair indication I was never going to represent Australia as a swimmer. So I played some rugby league, had many years in surf lifesaving, I tried lawn bowls, but every time the result was the same. So when it became abundantly clear that I would never get to play for Australia, I decided to do the next best thing, and that was watch Australia play as often as I could. So I've headed up to Brisbane to watch the Bledisloe Cup, and one of the guys that came with me was a mate by the name of Mark Skiffington, and I played rugby with Skiffo for many years, and like me, he would have loved to have played for Australia. On the way up, he's put out a book of Sudoku puzzles. I'd never seen Sudoku at this stage, and I said, "What's that?" He said, "Sudoku," and I said, "Well, what's Sudoku?" And he explained the rules. And I was sitting there, I'd had a couple of beers, I had my Wallaby scarf around my neck, and I was thinking to myself, it just doesn't seem fair that a little thing, like a lack of ability, was the only thing stopping me from playing for Australia. And I could hear the cogs ticking over inside my head, and I started to get a bit excited. And I said to Skiffo, I said, "Mate, if we create our own World Sudoku Championships, we could pick ourselves in the Australian team, and we could play for Australia. We could hold it at our local rugby club. Our Pommy mates could play for England. Kiwi mates could play for New Zealand. We could all get to represent our country, but more importantly, we could actually get to play for Australia." And that was a really exciting breakthrough for me, because the dream that I thought was dead was suddenly very much alive. When I got back home, just out of curiosity, I've Googled World Sudoku Championships, and I was devastated to discover there had actually been one the year before in Italy. They had 114 competitors from 32 different nations. So I was a lot bigger than the one I was going to hold at my local rugby club. And I say devastated because I really felt like the rug had been pulled out from underneath me. That was the closest I'd ever got to achieving this dream, but all of a sudden the dream was over yet again. And I thought to myself, "No, bugger this. I've come too far and I've worked too hard to let this one go." So I've turned my attention to finding out how you get to compete for your country at these existing World Sudoku Championships. I realised that was a bit of a long shot and a bit optimistic, given I'd never actually played a game of Sudoku before. But I figured it's got to be worth a crack. So I've jumped online, started surfing around, and I've discovered this organisation called the World Puzzle Federation, which is the international governing body for puzzling, much like the ICC is to cricket or FIFA is to soccer, only not quite as corrupt. Bit more surfing, and I've discovered that the World Puzzle Federation is the entity responsible for organising the World Sudoku Championships. Bit more surfing, and I've discovered to compete for your country at these existing World Sudoku Championships, you needed to be selected and have that selection ratified by your country's member of the World Puzzle Federation. Bit more surfing, and I've discovered Australia didn't have a member of the World Puzzle Federation, so I've applied, and I've been accepted. So all of a sudden, I'm the Andrew Dimitri of Australian Sudoku. I'm the sole selector, and it's my job to organise state and national championships, pick the next Australian team and send them to the next World Championships. About 2 weeks after my membership was accepted, I got an email from the World Puzzle Federation asking me if Australia would be sending a team to the next World Championships, which were being held in India. Now, Australia had never sent a team to a World Championships before. I didn't know how to play Sudoku. And I certainly didn't know how to organise an Australian Sudoku Championships. So I've emailed this bloke back and said, no, Australia won't be sending a team. About 3 days later, I've got this really nasty, aggressive email from the organiser of the World Championships, and he's just got right into me. He wanted to know why was I made the Australian member, if I wasn't going to live up to mine of the bargain and organise state and national championships. I hate conflict, always have, so I've decided to come clean. Emailed him back and said, look, mate, I'm sorry, I only joined because I wanted to play for Australia. I was going to organise my own World Sudoku Championships, but you done it before me. Sorry, I won't do it again. He's come back and said, look, that's fine. What he'll do is he'll ask the people that he thought should have been made the Australian member in the first place and see if they can help. I've just thought, fine, no one's bigger than the game. You do what you've got to do. 2 weeks later, I get another email from this bloke, and the subject heading is more bad news. As it turns out, the people that he thought could help, he said they can't help either. So he said, it's all up to me. He doesn't care how I do it. Just try and organise an Australian team and get them to India. So I've emailed a mate of mine, Sandy Sutherland, who I'd played rugby with at university for many years, and I've gone, Sandy, would you be interested in representing Australia in Sudoku and travelling to India for the World Sudoku Championships? Sandy's emailed me back, I don't know what Sudoku is, but I'm sure it's nothing I can't learn on the day. I'm in. He's emailed me straight back, so let me clarify that. I'm in if it's with you, me, his brother Hamish, and Skiffo. Now, this was the same Mark Skiffington that was with me on that plane to Brisbane all those months ago, and it suddenly became crystal clear. For me to achieve my dream of wearing the green and gold and representing Australia, I didn't need to worry about a little thing like ability. All I had to do was just pick myself and 3 mates. So that's what I did. Now, we wanted to make our selection official, so we did organise an Australian Sudoku Championships. We held it at the OBH, which is our local pub at Cottesloe, on a Sunday afternoon, and only 4 of us turned up. So we knew we were a fair chance of making the 4-man Australian Sudoku team. We had a few rounds of beers and a few bowls of chips, and the time has come to announce the Australian team to tour India. And I suddenly became very nervous, and I don't know why I became nervous, because I'd picked the team, and I'd written my name down on the piece of paper that I was about to read out. But I'd waited 42 years for this moment that I really wouldn't believe it until I heard my name called out as an official member of this touring team. So I've stood up in the pub, I've opened up the piece of paper, and I've gone, the team to represent Australia at the World Sudoku Championships in Goa, India, is. And I'm just thinking, please pick me, please pick me, please pick me. And I hear Mark Skivington, Hamish Sutherland, Sandy Sutherland. I'm thinking there's one spot left, I've got everything crossed. And Mick Collis, I've just gone, yes. I'm not normally a fist pumper, but I gave that a double fist pump that day. Just from a show of hands, can I see here who's married? Doesn't have to be happily. Can I go up? I'm married. Hearing the priest say, I now pronounce you man and wife, is a wonderful, wonderful moment. But it is nothing compared to hearing your name called out as a member of an Australian team for the first time. You know, as a kid growing up, I didn't dream about owning my own home or having a job. I grew up dreaming about playing for Australia, and here I was, I've been picked in my first ever Australian team, and I still get goosebumps to this day when I think about it. It was such a surreal moment, and something I'll never, ever forget. The next thing we had to do was choose the Australian team captain. As you know, there's no one greater and no position more revered than being named captain of your country. And you think of the characteristics of our great captains of the past, leadership, respect, calmness under pressure, team before self. And the honour of captaining the first ever Australian Sudoku team went to Mark Skiffington. Not for any of the reasons I've just mentioned, but of the four of us, he was the only one who'd actually done a Sudoku puzzle before. The next thing we had to do was choose our Australian team uniform. We knew we'd never get to play for Australia again, so wanted to make sure we had enough kit to last us well into the next decade. So we started with the number ones, which was the grey pant, the white shirt, the Australian team tie and the Australian blazer. That'd be worn on travel days and to any official functions in India. Number twos was the polo shirt and the walk shorts. Number threes was the t-shirt and the gym shorts. Number fours was the singlet and the board shorts. And the number fives was the green and gold Australian playing kit. We had a pair of green and gold Australian thongs, 2 Australian caps with a bottle opener peak and a stubby holder. Now, a few people have asked us what the process is that you need to go through to get permission to use the Australian crest on all the gear. And the answer to that is, I don't know. We just found one on Google and got all the gear made up in Bali. So the time has come to depart our fair shores. We're on the plane on our way to the World Championships. And we get to about an hour out of Singapore on the way to those World Championships. And I've suddenly broken into a cold sweat and Skiffo's noticed it. And he said, mate, what's wrong? I said, mate, I'm on my way to India to represent Australia at the World Sudoku Championships. And I'll never forget what he did. He just looked at me, put his hand on my shoulder and he said, mate, I know, and you should be very proud. And I said, I am, but I don't know how to play Sudoku. So with a bit of expert coaching from the skipper and a few stumbles along the way, I finally completed my first ever one-star easy Sudoku puzzle as the plane taxied into Singapore Airport on the way to the World Championships. And that was a real confidence booster for me, because I just set a PB. I was in career best form and I knew I was taking my A game to India. We touched down on the subcontinent to learn there were 89 individuals from 30 different nations there to contest the title of World Sudoku Champion. The competition itself was divided into 2 days. First day was the individual component, second day was the teams event. Now, to be eligible for a team, each nation had to have 3 representatives. So some of the nations, like Luxembourg, only had the 1. So of the 30 nations represented, 20 had enough to put a team in. I mentioned my wife earlier. She was in the Australian women's water polo team for 9 years and was the vice captain at the World Championships in 1998. And by a process of qualification, she had 12 teams in her World Championships. I had 20 in mine. My wife and I are quite competitive with each other. And I said to my 2 boys, I said, boys, whose World Championships is better, mum's or dad's? And much to my wife's disgust, the boys have gone, oh, Dad, yours, because you've got more teams. It's only the second time I've had one up on my wife. The first time was when we had a swimming race over 25 metres, and I beat her by about a fingernail, but she reckons it doesn't count because she was 8 months pregnant at the time. But as I said, I couldn't care less. The win's a win. The individual component was divided into 7 rounds of 45 minutes, and each round consisted of 12 puzzles, and those puzzles ranged from the ones you see in the paper every day to ones that were unrecognisable as Sudoku, and each puzzle was worth a certain number of points, 5 for the simple through to 70 for the more difficult. And the aim was to complete as many of those 12 puzzles in each round of 45 minutes as you could to score as many points as you could. So it's game day. We're sitting in the Great Hall at the Holiday Inn in Goa, one of the world's great sporting cathedrals. We've got our puzzle booklets face down on the desk in front of us. I've got Hamish on my left, Sandy in front of me, Skiffo in front of him. Boys have all got Australia written across the back of the number 5s. I look out to see China and Germany and the USA, and really took the time to soak in where I was, what I was doing and what I was about to achieve. And the boss of the World Puzzle Federations came out to the front of the room, made his welcoming address, and then he said, you may start. And I thought to myself, with those 3 simple words, you may start, I said, this is it. I'm actually playing for Australia. The siren had sounded, the whistle had blown. This was my MCG. I was playing for Australia and I was the happiest man in the world. There's a wonderful saying in sport about going from the penthouse to the shithouse. And that's where I was about to head. When I've turned over my puzzle booklet, I've opened up the first page and I've seen this. I've just thought, shit. I'd never seen one of those before. I had no idea how to start that puzzle. So I've turned to page 2. I was always going to put my hand up and say to the helpers, there must be something wrong with the printing of my puzzle booklet because all my big numbers are missing. I didn't even know those things existed, let alone knew how to contemplate starting the damn thing. So I had nothing to lose, I turned to page 3. I see this. And I think, thank God. I don't know if I can do it, but at least I know what I'm supposed to try and do. So I've knuckled down and I got stuck into that puzzle. As I mentioned, we had 45 minutes in each round to try and complete 12 puzzles. I finished that puzzle in 41 minutes. But I'd finished a puzzle for Australia, and more importantly, I'd scored 5 points for Australia. I mentioned John Wellborn earlier. John played 6 games for Australia and didn't score any points. Here I was, game 1, and already 5 points on the board for my country. The guy that went on to win the World Sudoku Championships did that same puzzle in 2 minutes 26. His name's Thomas Snyder. He's a postdoctoral student in bioengineering at Stanford University. I studied phys ed. Thomas is a member of the American team. That's them there, a very formidable looking outfit. When we first walked into the hotel, we thought there must have been a Star Trek convention on at the same time as the American Sudoku team. That's Thomas second from the right. The guy on the very far right there is a fellow by the name of Weiwa Huang. And Huang has actually trained himself to hold a pencil in both hands when he does Sudoku. And he said if he had a third hand, he would find a use for that. And we didn't doubt him for 1 minute. But he can play. That was just the Lithuanian Sudoku team. We thought they were the second best dressed team at the World Championships. As to the results, as I mentioned, of the 89 individuals, it was Thomas Snyder going back-to-back world champion in first place. 89th, quite comfortably, was myself. Yeah, thank you. And just out of interest, 88th was Hamish. 87th was Sandy. And in one of the great captain's knocks, 83rd place. Nice giving him. In the teams event of the 20 teams, the Czech Republic with the Boulders in first place. 20th was Australia. And just in an interesting bit of trivia for you, the Australian Sudoku team became the first senior Australian team since Ricky Ponting's one-day side of 2005 to be beaten by Bangladesh in international competition. New Zealand didn't qualify. Looking at the results, it's fair to say that it wasn't the most successful trip, and it really does back up the Australian cricket team's claim that India really is a tough place to tour. But we saw nothing but positives to come out of it. It was the best ever performance by an Australian team in the World Sudoku Championships. We now have 4 individuals ranked internationally in the top 100. And we returned as Australia's most capped international Sudoku players. I feel very lucky to have been given the opportunity to wear the green and gold and represent my country. It was a thrill, a privilege and a real honour. And while I'll be the first to admit that I didn't play with a lot of ability, I played with a lot of pride and a lot of passion. When we got back to Australia, we thought we might have been given a ticker tape parade. That didn't happen. Thought we might have been invited to dine with our Prime Minister. That didn't happen either. What did happen, I took it upon myself as the Australian member of the World Puzzle Federation to establish an Australian Sudoku Hall of Fame. And I'm very pleased to announce that I've recently inducted myself, Hamish, Griffin and Sandy to the Australian Sudoku Hall of Fame. As for my own competitive Sudoku career, I haven't done a puzzle since I got back from India. I like to think that I retired on top. And like my good mate Marty Roebuck, who retired after the Wallaby Tour de France in 1993, I like being able to say that my last game was for Australia. But perhaps the greatest thrill for me is that my 2 boys, Matt and Ben, can now say with hand on heart that both their mum and their dad vice-captained Australia at a World Championships. Thanks for your story, but absolutely terrific. But to keep the night moving, would you keep your paws growling for Tiny Holly, the auctioneer? You all right, mate?
Wow, hard act to follow. Ladies and gents, a very good evening. Bit of bad news. I'm probably not meant to be in here tonight. Back in Geraldton, there's 450 people, or 449 people, celebrating my grandfather's 100th birthday, and I got the days mixed up, and here I am, instead of being in Harvey. So, not a real popular grandson, I'll give you the tip. But then I thought, fuck it, he's not there either. He died when he was 60. So, you know, I don't think there's anything to get uptight about. So he died peacefully in his sleep. The other 4 blokes in the car, they fucking shat themselves. He was a good old bloke, but he used to fornicate with Nana every Sunday, which we thought was all right because they were married. And he'd do it in time to the church bells every Sunday morning. Ding, dong, ding, dong. He'd have been alive today if it wasn't for that fucking fire truck that went past. So, a couple of other things, mate. Have a drink of water, mate. I was going to say swallow, but no, that would be a bit rough. A couple of years ago, actually to the day, I lost my leg. Well, I didn't lose it. I know where it is. Fucking Fiona Stanley's got it. But I think they used it for crab bait. So now I declare myself as a cripple. I took up, well, I can say it, I got the blue Acrod sticker and everything to go with it. I said, I'm going to take up a sport for the disabled. So is that better, more politically correct? For the disabled. So I took up cage fighting for the limbed, the limbless. Sounds a bit funny, but it's good because if we fall over, we're in a cage and, you know, we can get up and all that sort of thing. So 2 weeks ago, from this day, I had my first fight and I won it on points and I was very, very proud. That fucking budgie didn't know what hit it. And honest to God, the look on his face when I've walked in and took my shirt off, incredible. Now, I can't muck around because I've got another show to go to. That's in October the 4th if you're not doing anything. So, pretty busy. But I've got to hurry along because I can't wait to get back up to my room and rip my wife's knickers off. Well, they're bloody tight on me. They're cutting into me where they shouldn't be. And for those that are wondering, the crutchless ones aren't much better. So, righto, so I'm just going to, we've got some beautiful some of this sporting stuff signed up here by Richie and a few of the others, ladies and gentlemen, second to none. You will not get them anywhere better in Australia and New Zealand, ladies and gentlemen, so they are a ripper. We're going to start off with Shane Warne, the greatest spin bowler that wasn't a cheat ever to play the game. He never threw it. For those of you who are wondering, there are a few phone numbers on the back of it. And there's 2 other butcher's papers in the green room with the other names on it. So you'll be able to go and see that. Ladies and gentlemen, what a ripper of a piece of memorabilia to start on. Right, there we go, there you price it away. What's it going to make? Got to make 2 or 3,000. 3 to go. 8,000 to go. 2 on the start. 2,000 to go. 8,000 to go. Bidder got to be 2,000 God. That 2,000 now to got to be 2. Now to got to be 2 God. I got 2,000. Bidder got to be 2. The bidder to go. Got to be 2,000 God. That $2,000. Mate, sorry. If you're taking pictures of me, please don't put it on social media. The other night, someone took it at a ball. They took picture after picture. They put it on social media. Not happy. They put it on fucking Grindr, not Tinder. Worst 2 weeks of my life, I'll give you the tip. I thought it was an exhaust valve, not an intake valve. Up we go then, I got 2,000 God. That 2,000 now to go to be 2, now to go to be 2, the middle to go, got to be 2,000 God. That 2,000, 2.5, I got 2,500 God. That 2,500 a bit, got to be 2,500, the middle to go. That 2,500 got to be 2. You didn't think I was going to be this fucking good, did you, girls? That 2,500 got to be 2,500 now. That 2,500 a bit, got to be 2,500 and I sell. Betting done. You got it, Bradley. Thank you very much indeed. If you stand up, table 20, stand up, please, so the crew can come and get you and get your details. Anyone else wants them? We've got them for $140. Come and see us later on. Now, the decade of dominance, ladies and gentlemen. Have a look at this one. Signed by all the 12 All Blacks. I only went to school for lunch. I can't fucking read or write to save my life. I'm going to get Mick Collis, the Sudoku King, to read them out because he'll do a lot better.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, so it's signed by some absolute rippers. Bowden Barrett, Dan Carter, Sam Whitelock, Dane Coles, Richie McCaw, Conrad Smith, Kevin Mialamu, Brady Retallick, Aaron Smith, Richie Mo'unga, Ben Smith and Julian Sevilla. So it's a cracking piece.
Wow, how's that, ladies and gentlemen? I hope you said those Smith boys right. So this one here, absolute beautiful piece. It's got the signatures down the bottom there. Right, there we go, there you price it away. What's it going to make? Going to make very close. What do you give me, what, 2.5 to go? $2,000 bid are going to be 2 God. I got 2,000 now. 2.25 bid are going to be 2.25 God. That's 2,250 now. It's going to be 2,250 God. That's 2.5. I got 2,005 and I got going to bid 5 and I got to bid 2.5 the bid of the go. That's 2,005 and I got going to bid 5 and I got to bid 5 the bid of the go. Going to be 2,005 and I got. That's 2,005 and I got going to bid 5 and I got to bid 5 now. 750 God. I got 2,750 now. It's going to be 2,750 God. That's 2,750 now. It's going to be 2,750 bid. Look at your wife. She wants it. 3,000. 3,2. I got 3,200 now. I got 34. That's 3,400. I got going to be 3,4 the right hand to me. That's 2,000. 3,400. I got going to be 3,6. I got 3,8. That's 3,008. 4,000 you, sir. Fuck, you're a big boy, aren't you? Huh? Look at you. I thought you were standing up before. Looks like a little jockey, doesn't he? Oh, she's a good little filly. She'll go all day. $4,000 I got to bid 4 now with my man. At 4,500. I got 4,500 and I got going to bid 4,500 the bid on the go. At 4,500 and I got going to bid 4,500 and I got to bid 4,500 now. At 4,500 I got the bids with the black all black shirt. At 4,500 a bid I got to bid 4,500 got. At $4,500 and I sell. Betting. Don't clap yet. You haven't fucking got it. At 4,500. Which one's your partner? Just for curiosity. Oh, I was going to say you're batting above your league. You liking what you see up here, aren't you, girls? Huh? Once you've had fat, you'll never go back. 4,500 I got going to bid 4,500 got. At $4,500 and I sell. Betting done. Now you can clap. Thank you very much indeed. 4,500. Now, where's me little jockey, mate? As it happens, we've got another one if you want it for the same money, or you can have it at what you bid for. Hey? Yeah, plus GST is 4,500. Thank you very much indeed, sir. And we've got one other. The first person to say 4,500 can take that away as well. There you go. We've got 3 that... You want another one? Well, the first one you bought's got fucking scratches all over the glass, so you may as well. So come and see us anyway. See one of Brad or one of the boys, and we'll get on with that one. 4,500 is the money. Now, have a look at this one, ladies and gentlemen. The All Blacks signed, personalised, with Richie McCaw's details. Player number. It's got how many caps he played. Did you know, between us, Richie and I have got 148 test caps. Now, this piece here, now this is an important piece, and I don't know why I fucking use a microphone for it. It's got Richie's signature, and then it's got his playing number, which is, where is he? What's your playing number? No, overall for all the Kiwis. 2014. Well done, you got it right. Good stuff. Hand for Richie, ladies and gentlemen. And when he played and all that sort of thing. This is a limited item, a limited edition. You cannot buy this even in a shop that sells sporting stuff. They couldn't even forge this, like most of them do. You also get a photo with Richie if the price is right. If it's not, you get a picture with me with no shirt on. I was looking at you. I got a wonky eye. I wasn't looking at her. I wasn't really. I wasn't. Fuck it, both of you. Righto, there. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Absolutely marvellous speed. Up we go. You price it away. Give me what? 2,000. 2,000 bid, I've got to be 2.5, I've got to be 2.5, now I've got to be 2.5, and it's all ladies. At 2,500, 3 got. I got 3,000, 3,500 got. I got 35, I've got to bid 4. At 4,000, 4.5. I got 4,500, got to bid 4, 5's the bid and a go. At 4,500, my man in front. At 4,500, got to bid 4, 5's the bid and a go. Got to bid 4,500 got. I got 5,000 now. At $5,000, I've got to bid 5, I've got to bid 5, the bid and a go. Got to bid 5, 5.2. I got 5,200, got to bid 5.2's the bid and a go. At 5,200 got to bid 5.2 now, got to bid 5.2 got. At 5,200 bid, I got to bid 5.2 and the bid's in front of me. At 5,200 got to bid 5.2 and I'm going to bowl it. At $5,200 and I sell betting 5.4. I got 5,000 down. No! Look at me. Don't worry about them. At 5,400 got to bid 5.4 got. At 5,400. Just over there in that table number 23. Oh, you... Fucking hell, I'm not repeating my... Are you his bouncer? Fucking... You're the bigger than most people in the room, so... If you called me a prick, I'd say you had a good judge of character. I got 4.6. I got 4,600 now. I got 4,600, 4.48. I got 4,800 here. At 4.8 now, I'm going to be late. Now 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 I'm going to be late. I'm going to bid 5. I got 5,000 bid. 5.2. I got 5,200. I got going to bid 5.2 now. At 5,000. Hey, ask Dad if you can have one more bid, and I reckon he'll let you. At 5,200, got to bid 5.2, 5.4. At 5,400, got to bid 5.4, got. I got 5,400, got. Come on, mate, have one more. 5.6, got. I got 5,600 now, got to bid 5.6 a bit and a go. 6,000 a bid. At 6,000 now, have one more. It'll look good at home. I was there the other night. I didn't see you though. At $6,000, got to bid 6, got. At $6,000, got to bid 6,000 now. At $6,000, and I sell. Where was yours? 6.5, 7's you. At 7.5, I got 7,500 bid. I got 7,500. The bid's in the middle of the hall. That's you, sir. At 7,000. 8,000 got. I got 8,000 now, I got to bid 8 bid. 8,000, 8.5, I got to bid 8.5 bid, I got to bid 8.5 got. 8,500, middle of the hall, holes a bit, I got to bid 8.5 got. 8,500 bid, I got to bid 8.5, I got to bid 9. I got 9,000 away. I got 9,000 bid, I got to bid 10. I got 10,000 now. I got 10,000 bid, I got to bid 10 now, I got to bid 10 got. At 10,000, 10, 11, I got 11,000 now. I got 11,000 bid, I got to bid 11's a bit to go. Right down the back, holds a bid. At 11,000, Rich, is this enough? We are going to put it on the market. At $11,000, I got to be 11, 11, 12. I got 12,000 now. I got 12,000, but I got to be 12, but I got to be 12. 13's the offer. At $13,000, I got to bid 14. I got 14,000, got to bid 14's the bit of the go. At 15 now, I got $15,000, I got to bid 15's the bit of the offer. At $15,000, I got to bid 15 now, I got to bid 16. I got 16 now. I got $16,000, I got to bid 16 got. I got 16. Never again will this be sold in Perth. At $16,000, the bid's away. I got 16,000 now. I got 16,000. Your mate will come a long way, mate. They're not going to stop, so you can have a lot of fun. At $16,000, I got to bid 16 we got. At $16,000, and I sell. That's their bid. And I do not want to take two off them. That gives auctioneers a bad name. Oh, okay, thanks very much. A vote of confidence. At $16,000 and I sell. Betting done. Got it, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have just got the nod from Richie. We've got one other, sir. If you want it, it is yours at the first bid. Happy with it? You want to take it? Yes? Well, he's got another one. You want it, sir? Sorry? Sorry, I didn't get that. Okay, well, come and see us after anyway, but $16,000 is the money. That's a great effort. Well done, sir, or lady, whoever bought it. Now, Richie McCall breakfast. Shh. Have a look at this one, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you need to buy. First of all, Richie will go swimming in the pool. He'll then come up with his boardies and his singlet with a slight little bit of water still left on him, wet hair, and thong. Thong. At 7:15 in the morning, you and 3 of your mates can go with him to breakfast for an hour. So bear that, hang on, I will tell him. So 4 people from this room plus Richie will join the other 23 people from the lunchtime show. No, I just threw that in for comedy reasons and it really worked then. Now, so you and 3 mates and Richie for 1 hour and the 4 other people from the day show, they were very ordinary anyway, so they won't say much, so you're going to have him all to yourself. Push them up one end and away you go. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a rare opportunity that you can buy. Never be seen, never be sold this time of the night anywhere else in the world. Righto, there we go. Have the bacon and eggs, have the croissants if you're French. You can have porridge, wheat bix, eggs bolognese, or whatever it is. Who wants to start the bidding somewhere along the line? How much? Well, there's a fucking South African slept in. Get him out. That's only probably about 3 cents in South Africa, isn't it? 14 rand or something. Who's got 2,000 to go? 2,000 to start me. 2,000 got. I got 2,000, 2.5. I got 2,500, now it's going to be 2,500. At lunchtime it made 4 grand. At 2,500 got, going to be 2,500 got. I got 2,500 bit, going to be 2,500, the bit to go. Got a bit left hand to me. At 2,500 got, going to be 5, got to be 5, the bit to go. At 2,500 got. Hey? 3,000 I got 3,000 now, it's got to be 3 got. At $3,000 got to be 3 now, it's got to be 3,000 the bit to go. At $3,000 got to be 3 now, it's got to be 3,000 got. At $3,000 got to be 3,000 got. Here comes the next lot. We're going to auction the baby off next. At $3,000 got to be 3 got. At $3,000 and I sell. Betting done, gone. 4,000 now. I got 4,000 bit, I got a bid 4 got. At $4,000 I got a bid 4,000 bit, I got a bid 4, the bit to go. At $4,000 I got a bid 4 now, I got a bid 4 got. At $4,000 I got a bid, you're all out on this side. At $4,000 and I sell. Betting done, gone. Got him. Thank you very much. Right down the bottom table again. Thank you very much. Now, shh. At lunchtime, that made $3,000 per person. Tonight it was $4,000 per person, so that's great buying. Now, have a look at this. Geez, that's big. You must have had a rig then, Rich. I was going to get one of these spunks down the bottom to try it on, but that'd be too big for them. It's nice, isn't it? No, you can't be that way inclined up here. It's a mutual. I was going to say, put you in it. It'll look like a fucking boob tube on you. I never forget, I used to be 174 kilos, this is dead set. And they got me the shirt to try on at an auction. They said, it's big enough, it'll fit you. I couldn't get it on one fucking sleeve and they wanted to get it over the guts. Unbelievable. So this here was the World Cup signed tracksuit top from 2015 tour. So this here doesn't get much better than this. Where was that tour? Where was the World Cup in 15? Who? England. Oh. Well, it's funny you say about England. I was over there the year after, in 2016. We went over there playing polo. and I played polo, and we actually had an audience with the Queen, and we just thought of, country kids from the bush in WA. So we got to meet her, and the Argentinians were first, and they all got presented, and you had to say thank you, ma'am, and all that sort of thing. And then the Aussies, we got in, and I played number 4, which is the equivalent to a number 7 in rugby, and I was good. So they did the other 3 boys, and then I was the 4th one, and I'd never met the Queen before, obviously enough. I'd only ever seen her on the back of a stamp, so I licked the back of her head. Fuck, she got shitty. Now, this here, great piece, one off. You don't get any better than this, ladies and gentlemen. $2,000. Who $1,000 to go? 2,000. I got 2,000 God. I got 2,000 now. I got to be 2 now. I got to be 2. The bit to go. Got to be 2,000 God. That $2,000. Got to be 2 now. I got to be 2,000 bit. I got to be 2. The bit to go. That $2,000. 2 and a quarter. I got 2,250 now. I got to be 2,250 God. That 2,250 now. I got to be 2,250 God. That 2,250 now. I got to be 2,250 bid. Hey? 2,500. I got 2,500. I got to be 2,500 God. I got 2,500. I got. Don't shake it that way, mate. It'll fall off. I've seen it happen. At 2,500. I got to be 2,500 now. Have another drink of your shandy, and I reckon you'll get it. At 2,500. I got to be 2,500 here. At 2,500 a bit. I got to be 2,500. I'm going to bowl it. At $2,500, and I sell. Betting done. 2,750 now. I got 2,750 now. I got to be 2,750 God. I got 2,700. That's you, sir. At 3,000 a bid. At $3,000, got to be 3 now. Got to be 3 is the bit of the offer. At $3,000, got to be 3 now. Got to be 3 God. At $3,000, and I sell. Betting done. 3,500. I got 3,500 I got. At 3,500 bid, I got to bid 5 now. I got 3,500 I got to bid 5 right down the back. I got to bid 3,500 got. At $3,500 I got to bid 3,500 and I'm going to bowl it this time. At $3,500 and I sell 4,000. How much? 3,600. You reckon it's fucking easy up here doing this? At 3,600 now. I got 3,600. Got to be 3,600 the bid and a go. At $3,600 and I sell. Betting done. You got it. Thank you very much indeed. 3,600. Righto. The lucky last, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get on to the sweets, hey, how good was that meal that we've just had there? Absolute ripper. Well done, the Hyatt. Just one warning from the cook. One of them have lost a Band-Aid in the beef or the chicken. So if you get a bit refluxy later on tonight, you'll know what it is. Road to Glory. Now this here is a 2011 World Cup signed piece. It's got a piece of the ball, a piece of each ball from the 7 games. No, it hasn't got the balls. Sorry, it has got a piece of the ball there. The 7 games. And where's the bloke said I could have his? I'm not going back there, mate. Trust me. You spend 2 weeks on Grinder, not happy. Piece of the game, signed by the squad of 2011. Absolute ripper. You get your picture signed with Richie. He'll sign the back of it. To Bill, best wishes, Richie McCall. You're in the shit if your name's not Bill, but anyway, he'll sign it for you. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen, there we go. Great, marvellous piece. Up we go, give me what? 4,000 to go. 4 to start me. 4,000 God. I got 4,000 bid, I got to bid 4 now, I got to bid 4, so bid to go, I got to bid 4,000 God. At $4,000, I got to bid 4 now, I got to bid 4,000 bid. I got 4,000 now, I got to bid 4 now, I got to bid 4,000 God. 4.5. I got 4,500 now, I got to bid 4,500 bid. At 4,500, I got to bid 5 God. I got 5,000 now, I got to bid 5, the bid to go. At $5,000, I got to bid 5 now, I got to bid 5 now in the centre. At $5,000, I got to bid 5, I got to bid 5 God. At $5,000, I got to bid 5,000, I'm going to bowl it over. At $5,000 and I sell. Betting done. You got it, sir. Thank you very much indeed. $5,000. Well done. Great to see. Great effort. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my lot. I just want to say Thank you very much. Been a great crowd as per usual here. Rugby fans are the greatest fans ever. They're better than the AFL, I can give you that, and I do a few of those. But I do want to say, if you are driving home tonight from this venue, would you please, please, please make sure you've got a car. Thank you very much. Good night.
Yes, please put your hands together for Tiny Holly. And just speaking of the memorabilia, if you saw those prints when you come in, there's a print. You go and see Helen down in the back corner. You get the print, the photo of Richie that's signed, and you can get a photo of yourself and Richie, which then will go in that print at the end of the day. So the prints, if you want to grab one of those, they're down in the back corner with Helen. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we are back with the man himself, Richie McCaw. So use the bathrooms, have a quick beer, get yourself sorted out. We're back with the main event coming up.
Tell because it's plain to see. I can tell the way you look at me. Oh, now the way you walk on, hold my hand. Oh, yeah, baby, I can understand. I know you don't love me no more. Well, baby, I can give you a romance. Oh, if you give me another chance. Your clothes. Oh, and I promise I'll keep you warm when it gets cold. I can tell. I know you don't love me no more. You don't answer your telephone. Well, when I knock on the door, they said that you ain't home. Oh, now your sister let me in and tell me I can't wait. Oh, but when you go out, you saw me late. I can tell. I know you don't love me no more, no more. Oh, no more. Oh, no more.
Okay, thanks everyone. If you want to just start taking your seats for the main attraction is about to get underway. And just while you are just making your way to your seats, just a reminder that the online auction thing, that'll close at 9:30, so you've got up till 9:30 to keep bidding for that. And also, I'm sure you're aware, we will hear some good stories about the World Cup. If you want to just grab their seats, please. So we do need to get underway, give Richie as much time as we can at the back of the night to get some autographs and some photos. So if you can, as quick as you can. So just a reminder that the online auction shuts at 9:30, and you'll also notice a flyer on your table about a Rugby World Cup tour for next year departing from Perth. 18 nights, 7 cities, 5 test matches, so there's those flyers on your table. rugbyworldcuptour.com is the tour if you're interested, led by myself, Mitch Hardy, the Wallaby, and Heath Testman, so a nice Perth-led tour. But it's time now for what we've all come here for. Former All Blacks coach Steve Hansen calls him the greatest All Black of all time. He played 148 tests for his country, 110 of those as captain. His win percentage as captain is a phenomenal 89%. Of the 61 test matches he played on home soil, he was beaten only twice. He won 10 Bledisloes as well as back-to-back World Cups. Would you please put your hands together for Richie McCaw. You got up there quite nimbly.
Yeah, I was halfway up and the old knee creaked a bit, but yeah, didn't make a twit of myself.
Look, it's great to have you, Richie. Great to have you here in Perth. You're obviously a very popular man, but I want to take you right back to the start. So, where were you born, and tell us a bit about your life as a kid growing up?
Well, I was a South Island boy, born in the middle of the South Island, a little place called Kura. Obviously, a few people know where that is. Yeah, grew up down there. There's 400 people lived in Kura, so yeah, it's not very big. School had about 25 kids at it, so it was a pretty small country town. I grew up on a farm and went to boarding school in Dunedin, so I went to the Big Smoke for that. And yeah, I guess that was my upbringing, really.
And what were you like as a kid? Were you one of these bouncing off the walls kind of kids, or pretty quiet?
Oh, well, I grew up on a farm, so I guess being outside was kind of what we did, and yeah, I guess that was it was sort of well, a lot of kids grew up. I guess, especially where I came from. The thing, you know, you talk about rugby. That was the only sport that was offered really in the winter. Or even summer was just sort of to get through to winter, and rugby was the only thing really. And so you know, I remember going the first day at the little school, and all the older kids and young kids all played together, and that's all you did was play rugby. And my parents always say that's all I wanted to do when I came home from school was play rugby on Saturday. So I guess that's where that started. But yeah.
And were you a big kid for your age?
Yep, yeah, I was actually. It was quite handy when you're playing an age grade. When you're the big kid, you sort of can barge over and knock poor little kids out of the way. But rugby was quite easy when you're like that. But sort of I didn't stay like that, and I guess over time realised that you couldn't just rely on being the big kid.
And did you love rugby straight away, or was it just something that you just did?
I did enjoy it. Yeah, there's something about it. I guess I don't know. There's and I see it now, kids, at school, you watch them, you see the kids that have a bit of instinct, they sort of know what to do and want to be in amongst it, and there's some kids that are a bit standoffish. I was probably one of the kids that was right in amongst it, loved the hustle and bustle and the physical side of things, and so, yeah, I always just enjoyed that, and used to spend my time at home, kicking the ball around on my own and pretending to be this, that and the other person, but that was I guess I did love it right from the word go.
Who did you pretend to be?
Well, the first games I kind of remember watching was that around the 87 World Cup final, and John Kirwan scored a couple of magic tries during that tournament, and the one I remember the most was him scoring in the corner of the World Cup final, so I used to pretend to be him, but I lacked speed and I lacked all the things that a winger has, so I wasn't pretending to be him for too long, to be fair.
And when did you get an inkling that you might actually be good at it?
Well, there's one little thing that stuck out, and it seems a bit silly, but the club we had, at the end of the year, we put out a little booklet, reflecting on the season, and they'd sort of comment on all the senior games, but they had a little thing on some of the junior teams, and I must be under 10s or 11s, and I just remember I had a little blurb on each of us players, which was quite cool, as a 9-10-year-old, and it just said he has a fine future for the game. And I always remember that. I thought that was pretty cool to someone thought that, and but not that I thought you'd ever become an All Black or whatever. But it was an amateur game. I guess no one thought, from where I came from, that it was possible being an All Black, but it didn't stop you still having that dream, I suppose. But probably wasn't even until I left school that I actually considered that rugby could be a career, and that actually you could maybe potentially make it to the top. And
were you a good trainer as a kid?
Not initially, no. I was the big kid, and it was all quite easy until I was probably Form 2. Kids had all sort of grown, I hadn't so much, and I decided for some reason to get a bit fitter. And I said, I don't know how this is going to help me play any better. But the thing that I remember, that it wasn't actually rugby that hit home, that actually training does help, is I used to absolutely hate the cross country. I used to be slow, and I just didn't do any good at it, and I used to just hate when it came up. But in my second year of intermediates, the year before I went to secondary school, I did start doing some running for some reason, and bugger me, I ended up in the front 2 or 3 of the cross country. I was like, actually training does work, and I guess from that moment on, I sort of saw you get better, and I actually felt in my rugby it made it a bit easier. You could actually get around the field without puffing too much, and from then on, I guess it became a thing that I put a lot of work and effort into, and it's something that served me pretty well, obviously through the years. Like, I think people need a bit of something to start with, but it comes down to choices, especially you get to that period when you leave school, is to, people are prepared to work hard and make the most out of what they got, and other people do other things.
Now, some people have a burning desire from a young age to represent their country. Was there a sort of a lightning bolt moment that made you think, yeah, shit, I want to be an All Black?
I think, as I mentioned, the 87 World Cup final, you saw the All Blacks play, and I remember my parents always say halfway through the games I'd go outside and then see me trying to do the haka outside and do all that sort of stuff. Probably the moment it became probably more of a goal rather than just a dream was I was lucky enough to make the New Zealand under-19 team, and we had a guy, our coach, who was about the only All Black I'd ever met really, Mark Cowboy Shaw, and first time he handed out the New Zealand under-19 jerseys, he had a real way with words, but it was effectively along the lines of, if you can be sitting here in this room, there's no reason why you can't be an All Black. And I remember thinking, it's probably not such a silly idea. It becomes more of something you aim for rather than just being a far-off dream that most kids have.
And you were sent to Otago boarding school as a young kid. I think it was year 7, I think we called here. What was that like? That would have been a big change coming from a small town?
Yeah, it was pretty tough. Away from home, the big smoke. Not that Dunedin's very big, but certainly bigger than where I came from. But the reality was, coming from a farming in the late 80s, late 80s, it was pretty tough farming around that time with what was happening. So it was a big thing for my parents to send me away. But, the opportunities you get for sport and all the things that go with it that I just wouldn't have got meant that, I was pretty appreciative of that, and I just wanted to make the most of those opportunities. So whenever you thought, you'd rather be at home, I sort of did realise that I had a pretty cool opportunity, and I don't think if I hadn't had that chance, I would never have probably progressed like I did.
And were you a good student?
Oh, I tried hard, yeah. So I didn't think, because I was had my nose at sport that I just forget about.
Because I know the answer to this question, and I think you were a straight A student, weren't you?
Wow.
Is it just because, do you like just being good at everything? Like, is that you work hard just to be good at stuff?
Yeah, well, I guess it's quite rewarding, isn't it? But put it this way, if I hadn't have been good enough to make the first 15, I would have been put right in the geek category. So I probably gave me a bit of social sort of credibility, the fact I was did all right on the sports field as well.
And it was obviously rugby was a big thing at the school?
Yeah, I think like a lot of the sort of traditional schools around New Zealand, rugby is sort of the sport that has a fair bit of I guess attention and stuff behind it. So and we were like that. It was. I remember having Jeff Wilson come along and speak to us when I was probably year 12. And he said, look, I just want to tell you that some of the most fun and enjoyable rugby I had was playing at school. And I was like, oh, yeah, right. You're playing for the All Blacks, you're just telling us that just to make us feel better or, whatever. But actually, when you're playing with your mates and you're with each other at school every day, and, it's a pretty cool thing. And it was I had some real enjoyable times playing rugby at that time.
Steve Hansen tells a story about a time he was just in charge of the Canterbury Academy, I think it was, and he came along to a school final. I think Otago was playing Rotorua or something rather, and he just thought he'd go along and see if there's any talent that he could try and get into the Canterbury system. And he's seen you play, and he's gone back to the board and said, I don't care what it costs, there's a guy there that we need to get here, which was obviously you. Has he been a massive influence? Because that was obviously early days for him and early days for you.
Well, if I'd known that, I might have negotiated a bit harder. I didn't realise that at the time. We were probably pretty lucky to even be in that situation. We had a first 15 that wasn't great. We were we'd beaten the other decent school in Dunedin, we'd be going all right. But we snuck our way through a couple of close games and got to play in the semi-finals of the national first 15 competition. And we came up against Kelston Boys High School, which they'd won a world tournament, and it was Graham Henry's school, and they had about 6 or 7 New Zealand school reps playing. Funny story, the Kiwis would know, all the first 15s have their own huckers, and that's something tradition to do before the game. So we were all set to do this before we played Kelston. They lined up, they all had beards and they were big Polynesian boys, and we were these little white guys from Dunedin. We chose not to do the haka because just wouldn't have looked right, and we kicked off, they scored. I was like standing on our post, it was like, just how do we make sure this isn't embarrassing? They probably thought that too, because we ended up actually beating them. And ironically, you talk about a bit of luck, there happened to be some selectors watching to select a squad for the New Zealand 19s early the following year to go to a world tournament. And out of all the games I played when I was at secondary school, it was probably the best one. So I had pretty good timing, I suppose, and that's where Steve Hansen heard about that. Then he came along and watched the final, and he might have exaggerated a little bit, but there's no doubt, and answer your question, but a long-winded way of answering it. Taking him into the academy and kind of coming across him as an 18-year-old. I think there's only 2 years in my whole career till I finished where he didn't coach me at some point. So could say he had a fair influence.
Yeah. There's a great scene in the documentary Chasing Great where you're out with your family or your uncles there and you're planning your rugby career. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, so around that time I got selected off what we just talked around to go to a camp before Christmas to give us a training program. So first year out of school, and I thought it was pretty cool just getting selected for that. And they took us and gave us a training program and all this sort of stuff. And I was quite chuffed with that. Went home, and my uncle, who had actually played 100 plus games mid Canterbury provincial rugby, so he obviously knew a wee bit about rugby, and I was sort of showing him all this, and he goes, "Oh well, if you put some goals down." I was, "Oh yeah, I'm pretty keen to make the New Zealand 19s in a few months." And he goes, "Yeah, but what happens after that?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. I suppose next year maybe make the New Zealand Colts." And he said, "I'll write it all down." I thought, "All right, yeah, write it all down." And then you get to making the Crusaders. He said, "Well, and then the All Blacks." I was like, "Oh, yeah, All Blacks, okay, we'll write that down," sort of. And we had to put a timeline on it, so it was 2004. So this is 99, so 2004. And he said, "Well, if you're going to have a goal making the All Blacks, what happens when you get to become an All Black? You're going to have to, do a bit better than that and be a great All Black." I was like, "Hang on a minute, I've never made a national team at this point. I'm only being selected for an under-19 squad. We're getting a bit carried away here." And he said, "Well, just write down something that means that to you." And I was like, "Oh." So I did that, put it in my pocket, took it home, never saw it again, until we sold our farm in 2002. So this is 3 years later. By this stage, I was in my second year for the All Blacks. And I pulled out this bit of paper, and I was like, "Oh, jeepers, I've ticked all these things off that I wanted there, pretty much everything on the list by 2001 when I had 2004. And the only thing I had at the bottom was GAB, or Great All Black." And I was like, "Wow, that's something that I haven't achieved yet." And I guess that was became something in my mind that you probably, whether you achieve it or not, was actually irrelevant. It's just how, when you make decisions on whether you should train or how you should do things, I always ask the question what a Great All Black would do, and then try and judge it from there.
Because you wrote GAB, you wouldn't write Great All Black. Like, why wouldn't you write Great All Black?
Just in case someone saw me, think you're a bloody idiot, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure I believed it. And as I say, whether it triggered something then, I don't know. But I never looked at it again until kind of things happened fairly quickly. And then I found it, and I was like, and I remember thinking, "Ah."
Yeah, nice. Now, this day's, not about me, but I remember vividly the day that I was named in my first national side.
Well, so do I, actually.
So what was it like for you? How did it transpire for you?
Well, I hadn't played. I'd been brought into the Crusaders earlier in 2001 for literally 2 games for an injury cover. I think I played a total of probably 6-7 minutes. And then for the provincial championship, I played pretty much a full season. And I was pretty lucky that in the Canterbury team at the time, there was probably 6 of the forward pack were in the All Blacks, plus guys like Justin Marshall and Andrew Murdens in the back. So we had a pretty good team, and we went through that competition and won. And so the Saturday night we'd won the NPC, which I thought was pretty cool in my first year in it, and woke up fairly hungover, as you can imagine. And but back then they didn't have it on TV like they do now. It was literally read out on the radio at midday. And so I was...
So the coach, you didn't get a call from the coach, you
No.
just had to sit and listen to the radio.
But I was a bit like, I don't know whether I should even be listening to it, because I didn't think I didn't know whether I'd be even in the mix. But anyway, I was with my folks and some of their friends' place, and I was like, geez, this is going to not work out so well if I don't get picked, because because there'd obviously been a little bit of talk about it. But listened to it on the radio, and then I was like, what do I do now? And I guess it was next day you're on a plane to Auckland to be in camp.
Could you believe it when you heard your name called out?
Well, not really, no. I guess it wasn't completely out of the blue, because there'd been talk about it, but you never wanted to even read into that, because it may not have happened. Who knows? I guess there was new coaches, John Mitchell and Robbie Dean's just taken over, and there's a few changes into the team, and we actually had midweek games, so they took extra couple of players, so it might have been the reason.
Being very humble. Now, what is it about like the jersey and being an All Black? It's almost this mythical thing. Why is it so important?
I think one of the things, there's a few things. It's not any one thing, and I think a lot of people think there's a bit of some sort of magic they try and unlock, but it's a lot of different little things. But one of them that's quite important is, and we kind of make it make sure everyone knows this or remembers this, is that we're just, as a player, you come in, you're just a caretaker of the jersey. It's never yours as of right. You got to earn it, and you earn the right to add something to it. And we always said, your job is, when you get handed that jersey, is to leave something of yourself in it and hand it back in a better spot than you got it. And I can genuinely say that's the ethos of the team. And you draw that a bit longer. It's about the team being successful ahead of any individuals. Like, no matter whether you have the best player in the world or whoever you have, someone else will come along. And that's what you got to remember as a player, that someone will come along that's better than you. They'll come along and do whatever. But your time's to do what you got now. But it's about the team being successful. And as long as you keep that at the front of your mind, people are going to do the right thing. Whether you're the guy starting or on the bench or not getting to strip, you're all about making sure the team is successful. And I think living that rather than just saying it is the key. And while I was there, that's what I think was pretty strong.
Has that been there for a while, or is that a relatively new thing?
I think it's definitely been there for years. It probably, how strong it is, probably fluctuates a bit over time, and you probably look at periods where the team hasn't been quite as good as it could have been, and you'd probably question some of those things. But just assuming that because it's there at one point or it's been lived, it's not just going to carry on unless you actually make sure you put time and energy into it. And assuming that a new fella that comes in just going to think like that, you get disappointed. Whereas it was up to the guys that have been there a while to show them and tell them and help them to understand what is expected. And then, it's not about catching people out. It's about showing people the right way. And most guys, love that responsibility.
So August, Ireland 2001 was your first Test match. You're named to start in your first Test match in the number 7 jersey. That's every kid's dream. That was your dream. So what was that day like, the lead up to that first Test match, that moment?
I shit myself, to be fair. But the thing is, I'd been named an All Black to go on tour a couple of weeks earlier, and you had all the gear and walking around and stuff, and it was all pretty cool. But until you're on the field, when that whistle goes, if you twisted your ankle and never got to play, you never actually go down as an All Black until you're on the field. So, sort of making sure I got through training and all that, without that sort of stuff. But it was pretty nerve-wracking. But on the other side of it, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the guys I played in the Canterbury team with were in the All Blacks alongside, so it actually, in some ways, made it a little bit easier. And I can still remember standing there on the field, and when the whistle went, we kicked off, and I started chasing it. I had enough time to think, at least no matter what happens from now on, I've been on the field when the ball's been in play, so I can call myself an All Black. And even if that's all I ever get to do, at least I've done that.
And what was it like, after that? When you watched that World Cup in '87, you went outside and you were doing a haka by yourself, and you talked about your school hakas. What was it like doing the haka with the All Blacks on Lansdowne Road for your first Test?
It was pretty cool. In some ways, you talk about that as a youngster growing up, doing the haka and stuff is almost more important than the game, and making sure you get that right and not getting it wrong was the key. But I just got to say, Lansdowne Road was a hell of a place to play my first Test. Like it was an old stadium at the time. It's all been done up now to a new one, but it was pretty amazing. One wee story about it is the train actually ran underneath the stadium, and when we were getting changed, I didn't realise this. The whole place just shakes when the train went by, and we were getting ready to go out and warm up, and I thought the whole place was falling down, but. That was quite one of the vivid memories that I remember thinking, jeepers, this is a bit different.
And a lot of athletes talk about wanting to belong, feel like they belong at that level. Were you daunted going into it, doubting yourself, or were you always confident that you did belong?
No, I kind of, I don't know, probably not sure why, but I did back myself in a way. But the reason I... one of the things I desperately wanted to do was kind of, I guess, earn the respect of the people alongside you. That I think was my big motivation, is to show that I belonged and to show the guys who played alongside that they could trust me and that I'd, step up to the level it was at and do my job. And that's the bit I was really keen to do. As I say, that can be a bit daunting, but also, you either stand back and wait for it to happen or you get in there. And I guess I was someone that was just hoed in.
And you got named man of the match in your Test debut. Not a bad start.
Well, the first time I got past the ball, I dropped it, so could only go up from there. Perhaps they felt sorry for me, I don't know. But I heard it a couple of minutes before the end. Heard that read out, and I was like, something's gone wrong here or something. But no, pretty cool.
And have you got any rituals that you do before a game?
No, I try not to. I tried not to. I did get stuck in a few little things early on. When you have a really good game, you think, geez, what do I do? But I knew I had to sort that out when I was putting another pair of undies over my lucky undies that had holes all through them. So I realised that if how you play is determined on what sort of undies you wear, you're in trouble. And so I tried not to have those. I guess what I did do is you could pretty much guarantee you're going to have a reasonable 30 minutes before a game to warm up. So I went through a pretty standard routine with that. But there was one occasion that kind of reinforced to me that no matter what happens leading up to kick-off, if you have the right attitude, you can adapt. And it was the 2003 Test match we played against the Wallabies at Stadium Australia, or ANZ Stadium, whatever it is now. And we were staying in Manly, so it was quite a long drive to the stadium. And we usually get there about an hour before. We were on the bus still an hour before, and I thought, it must be just over the hill. We come over this hill, and the stadium's miles in the distance. I was like, how the hell are we going to get there? I must have the timings wrong. We arrived at the ground. It was under 30 minutes to kick off. I thought, they've definitely got to push kick-off out. And they go, no, you got 30 minutes, get yourself sorted. And, I was only young at the time, but it was pretty stressful. But we ended up winning that game by 50 points. And I was like, perhaps should do that every week, But it just showed that you don't necessarily need to have it perfect to still be able to perform.
I did some stats at the top, and I think of your 148 games for the All Blacks, I think you only had 15 losses, or something like that. So how did you handle those? Was that gutting to you, or you thought you got over it pretty quick because it's a loss, we're going to win next week?
No. Like I could tell you every loss, and I could probably explain the game and what went wrong and all that, because I guess the one thing about trying to be at the top or stay at the top is the moment you accept losses are okay, then I think your standards and your outlook and what you're going to do and how driven you are is going to drop. And that's not to say you're not realistic that you won't win every game, but thinking that it's okay to lose one or two, I think that's when your standards drop, and that's one thing, why losses you take a bit harder, and you do sometimes learn your best lessons in those situations. The hardest thing in sport, and we always struggle with, is when you have a great performance one week, how do you go and back that up the next week? And I think trying to find the secret to that is something that I don't think anyone has, and we certainly always struggle with it. But to be able to do that, I think it's the differentiator between teams that can do it on occasion, but the ones that can do it regularly are the ones that I think differentiate themselves, and that's something that we tried to pride ourselves on.
You got made captain in 2006 in the lead up. Not 2006.
2006.
2006, yeah, sorry. In the lead up to the 2007 Rugby World Cup. So New Zealand hadn't won the World Cup for 20 years. You were the new captain. Was there how much pressure was on you to deliver that silverware as such a young captain?
Well, I guess, there was, but we were the number one team in the world. We'd beaten the Lions, gone pretty good that year. 2006 had gone pretty well. We'd only lost one game, and we had a pretty talented team going in 2007, and we just thought, we're just going to rock up there. And I don't think arrogant was the word, but we certainly backed ourselves. If we played our best rugby, we'll get the job done. And as most of you probably know, it didn't happen. We came home after quarter-final. And one of the worst things about coming home after a quarter-final is I arrived home before some of my friends got on the plane to go and watch us play in a semi-final, so it wasn't so flash. But I guess I said for a long time the 2007 exit and being in charge of that was the worst experience I had as a rugby player in All Black. Ironically, if we hadn't have gone through that, I don't think the success we had in the following years would ever have happened, because it forced us to have a pretty close look at ourselves, forced us to look at things we ignored. Like, we were pretty silly when you look at it. We obviously got knocked out in 2007. 2003, the same thing happened. 99, the same thing happened. And it wasn't because we didn't have a good enough team. It was because we couldn't execute when it all counted. And that's nothing to do with talent, really. That came down to being able to handle pressure. And I guess that was a big learning for me, and had to confront the fact that under pressure, myself and the team didn't have the tools. And we had to figure out how we could get that.
Because the press back in New Zealand was brutal. I was looking at some headlines. They were calling the team a national disgrace. You're an embarrassment to New Zealand. So how did you take that?
Yeah, it's pretty tough, I suppose. But the first thing I did, I came home and I was trying to find every excuse under the sun, we had bad luck here, we had ref calls here, we had this and that, and I was, I was walking around like, poor me, and yeah, sure, we had some things thrown at us, but every team that's won has had to deal with stuff thrown at them. And there was a moment, when I was home and all that was going on, I was just like, perhaps I just sort of put my hand up and let someone else have a crack. And I kind of caught myself thinking like that, going, what the hell are you thinking here? You're going to, first sign of trouble, walk away, or you're going to actually face what it is that you weren't very good at, or you aren't very good at. And I guess that moment, you had that choice. Do you face it, or do you walk away? And I was sort of like, well, it's not my nature to walk away. And had to accept that we, under pressure, when it all came down to it, didn't have the tools. But actually being a little bit vulnerable at that and saying that actually allowed you to start working on the things that you weren't very good at. And the one feeling I never ever wanted to have again was the feeling I had in Cardiff, standing out there with a few minutes to go, not knowing what to do, almost throwing your hands in the air, sort of the helpless feel, because it all got too much. But I look around the team that we had more talent, the same, if not better talent than everyone else, but we just couldn't deliver it on the day. But I guess all that situation, what you talk about, actually fueled what happened from then on.
Because how do you, so in 2007 you were raging hot favourites, you'd had a great preparation, everything was set for you to win, and you still come up short. Do you get self-doubt that you can't do it?
Absolutely. I remember thinking about it, and we were talking about it afterwards. The reality is, to win a peak tournament in 4 years, and the same in a lot of sports like Olympics and all that, 4 years of work comes down to one day. And in that one day, it might come down to one or two things you do. And you sit back and go, shit, that's unfair. I deserve better, or we deserve better because we've done that. And you just got to realise that sport doesn't believe in fairy tales. It's the people who go and take it and deliver on the day, regardless of what you've done up to that point. It's about what you do on that day. And that's pretty brutal, but that's why it's so hard to win, and that's why it's rewarding. So the first thing was actually acknowledging those sort of things. And you go, well, there's going to be, in 2011, for example, there's going to be some teams going to be world champion, and they're going to deal with those things, and they're going to deal with it on that moment. So we've got to work out what we need to do to be able to do it.
So how important was that mental side then? The physical stuff, obviously you had right. Was it the mental side that let you down?
Yep. Absolutely was, and it was under pressure. You know, like everyone, and All Blacks were definitely like this, like big tough rugby players. You don't feel pressure, and I remember having a meeting about that, and the guy that was talking to us, he said, "Oh, you know, so you know, how do you feel pressure?" He was, I don't feel pressure, but of course you're kidding yourself. And when you understand that, you know, it's a hard thing to know how to train to get better at, but you know when it gets you, the old tunnel vision comes up, or the old red mist comes up, or people just don't want to be in that situation. That happens, and so just getting a bit of understanding and acknowledging that was a big start. And realising that when teams in the biggest moments under the most pressure don't pull a rabbit out of the hat, they don't go and find the magic. All they do is execute what they've trained, and they have their teammates beside them do that. And if you can do that, you give yourself a pretty good chance. And so we sort of started to work our way towards that, and we. You know, you could be here a long time. I could be here a long time explaining the things we did, but it didn't just happen just like that. It was like training to be stronger, training to be fitter. It took time, and you had some ups and downs along the way, but slowly you started to get better. And as I say, you never make pressure go away. All you do is learn to cope with it.
And was that something that everyone bought into, or is it just some of you thinking, yeah, we'll do this, others thinking, nah, we're fine?
Well, the lucky thing was we had the coaches were reappointed, and so we didn't have a choice. It wasn't some other team, it was us. And the senior players, you know, there's a fair few of them, but I guess it was led from the coaches, and I guess myself as a captain that really started to embrace that, and you know, a bunch of senior players also, and to varying degrees for the younger guys, newer guys that perhaps weren't involved, but we certainly had to lead the way on that.
And how tough was it to change that thinking from, you know, when you're under pressure for it to being a negative to you turning it around to be a challenge that you enjoyed? Like how hard was that to change that mindset?
Well, it was quite tough when you'd have, you know, people you respect and you know come up to you and go, jeepers, you know, your game. And I was like, why was that? He said, you know, what happens if you don't win the World Cup this time? You know, you'll distinguish yourself, not like a few players, captains that have lost once, you'll have lost twice. And you know, that can be pretty depressing hearing that. Whereas we swapped it around and said, what if you don't? To say, what if you do? And all of a sudden you see that as a challenge and exciting rather than a burden. And I guess that's the way we tried to approach 2011. But, you know, there were still doubts there. But we had to, you know, try and make it so that we could, I guess, handle the things that were going to come at us and realise that it wasn't going to be perfect. And the big thing is, and the 2011 final was a classic, is we didn't play anywhere near our best rugby, and people say, oh, you know, you could have lost, and yeah, we wobbled, but the big thing we didn't break, and that's the bit that we talked about. It's okay to wobble, and there'll be things that come your way that you go, man, but as long as you don't break, and then you can hang in there and find a way, and that's kind of what we had to do.
Now, we'll we will get to that 2011 World Cup. I once saw a bumper sticker, and it said, I'm not an alcoholic, I just drink when Richie McCaw cheats. Now, I didn't write it, I just read it. So you were trolled before trolling was even a thing. How did you handle that? Because that was pretty relentless with you.
I kind of took it as a compliment, really. The reality is not too many. But you never go out to be blatantly do things wrong. But what I did do is, at the pointy end of sport, if you're going to have an impact, you need to know exactly how to push things, where you can have an impact, where the things that are, you know, but when I say borderline, you know, like things happen in a hurry, how do you get yourself in a position that can have an impact over how the game's going? And the breakdown is a thing that happens at 100 mile an hour, and you've got to be in there, and you don't always get it right, but you go in there to try and have an impact. But I always judged how I played. One of the things was how many times I got penalised, and if I got penalised once a game, I could I sort of felt that was okay. Twice, I could sometimes justify the second one, but if I got penalised any more than twice, I'd had a bad day. And there was probably only a handful of times in my career where I got penalised 3 or more times. And because if I did that, and I was stupid doing that, because I just put pressure on your team. And so that's the way I judged it. And, you know, if people get annoyed by that, it meant I was doing a good job, I thought.
So 2011, you've come off the loss in 2007. It's been nearly a quarter of a century since New Zealand's won a World Cup. It's a home World Cup. Did you almost become obsessed by that in the lead up to that?
Probably, yeah. That's probably fair. I was certainly pretty determined. And the thing is, we'd had a pretty good run into the World Cup. 2009 wasn't great, but 2010 we'd sort of started to go pretty good. And but until it's all on the line again, and you're standing there out in the field, and it could go either way, you don't know. You don't know whether you got what it takes. And but I was determined to do everything I could to give myself the best chance, so that when it came down to it, we'd be able to handle it. And I remember the morning of the final. Well, we'd talked about before the World Cup is every team that had won, maybe bar the '87 tournament, every team had had a moment in the tournament where it could have gone either way, and bar probably sometimes it might be a bit of luck or whatever, it came down to it. And I knew before the final that we hadn't had that yet, and I was sort of going, well, I hope it's not today, but it could easily be. And probably the last 20 minutes it was like that.
So, because it was 8-7 in the end, so it was, what was that last bit like? Because if you guys had lost that World Cup at home, I reckon you would have been kicked out of the country.
Quite possibly. The reality, I remember thinking in the morning of the game, if we don't win today, it'll be my last game as an All Black. Certainly as an All Black captain, because, I don't know, it just probably would have been. But that was pretty unhelpful. The other thought I had is, if you're a young fella and you got told that you can only ever play one game of rugby, which one would you choose? And the simple answer for me was a World Cup final at Eden Park for the All Blacks. And that day I was sitting there about to put on the boots to do that. And so you got to get excited for that. Although there's so much riding on it and all those sort of things, I kind of wanted to know whether we could handle it. I wanted to see. Like, to be fair, it would have been nice if it had been more than 1 point up, but, you know, and we got to see. And as I said before, you know, did we wobble? Yeah, we did. When they scored, I was in all sorts. But I kind of snapped out of it. Teammates helped that. But it was like, this is actually what I prepared for 4 years, this next 20 minutes. And we had a bunch of 14 or 15 of us that were all like that. And you could see they were under pressure as well. And yeah, it was, looking back, I'm glad we got tested. Like, it's pretty horrible watching, I get that, but it was good that we survived.
Because and it was great. Because when that final siren went, like you raised your arms, but was that more in celebration or relief?
It was relief, I tell you. Like, I was pretty happy that was over. It was like we were tired physically, but it was a mental toll that it had taken. Like, the 6-week tournament did take its toll, you know, playing in your own country, but it was cool to be able to do that. But yeah, it was 4 years of, you know, just wanted to get that point and hopefully get the job done.
Because then how do you wake up the next day after that really mentally draining time and the game, you know, it was relief, not celebration. How do you then wake up thinking you've got to do that for another 4 years for the next World Cup?
I really struggled, if I'll be honest. The thought of repeating what I'd done for 4 years didn't excite me a lot at all. To be fair, we rolled into the following year. Steve Hansen became head coach, and quite a few new players. So it was kind of good, but it was I knew what it was going to take to try and win again. And I remember I took some time off in 2013. And I realised I still loved the game, but I was just dreading what I knew needed to be done to be successful. And we had a guy who helped us out around the mental side, and I said to him, mate, I don't know if I can do that again, and repeat what we've done. He goes, what are you trying to do that for? I was like, I'm pretty keen to win again. And he goes, yeah, but if you just go and try and repeat what you've done for the last 4 years again, you set yourself up to fail. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, you're at a point where no team's won back-to-back, and there's no captain in any sport I could find that has a pinnacle event 4 years apart and captain successfully twice. He said, so this is territory that no one's been to before. So, you need to actually reframe and do it differently. And I was sort of like, that's quite exciting. We're going to go and do something that no one else has done. And we had the tag of world champions. So you go and earn that every day you play, not just once in 4 years. You earn it every time you go out in the field. And I guess the pressure side of things, we'd survived in 2011, but how do you change it so you actually love those moments? You really, really want to be out there in the biggest moments, see how good you are. And we that's the thing that really started to get exciting, and it made the next few years, loved every time you got that chance.
Because your challenges are probably a bit more extreme than most people. Is it exhausting being Richie McCaw?
Yes and no.
Because that's tough. Trying to do something no one's ever done before. That's just your challenge.
Yeah. Got it. I guess that's that's what excited me, I suppose. But what that does is it keeps you on edge, and it takes away any complacency. And as you get success, people wanted to knock you off even more, and I became even more determined not to let them get a scalp and all those sort of things. So it became and the more you had success, the more people wanted to get you, the more you didn't want to. And so it was like, that's what I really started to love. And but I got to say, when I finished, and I always tell people that the bit I loved was all that went with it, but that's the bit that got to me, and in the end was probably the reason it was time to stop, but it's the bit I miss. And but yeah.
So 2015, the World Cup final ended up being your last game. What was that like? I mean, you knew that in your head that it was going to be your last game. What was that like, thinking this is it, the last time you were handed an All Black jersey, the last time you're going to go out there and do that? Was it emotional? Did you let the emotion think about it?
I tried not to think past that final whistle effectively. But what I didn't want to do is have all this rubbish about retiring and finishing up before the tournament. So I didn't say I was going to retire. I didn't have a contract. I didn't, I knew I wasn't going to play, but I left the door just a little bit ajar. So if all of a sudden I did decide I wanted to play, I could probably do it. But I knew deep down it was time to finish. But I was so determined to, be successful again that didn't really think too much about it. But what I wanted to do is make sure my performances were as good as they had ever been. And that's one thing, I guess, in reflection, I was pretty proud of. But the moment the final whistle did go, first of all, compared to 2011, where I just couldn't wait for the final whistle, actually 2015 didn't want it to finish. It was we were kind of in charge, and it was pretty cool atmosphere, and you want to keep playing forever. But I did have a moment when that final whistle went. I was like, man, that's it, I'm done. And all of a sudden the emotion came. It was like, oh god, this is not very nice. But then I thought, you want to remember this moment of just being world champions again. You've got a chance, to spend an hour or so out in the field and whatever with your teammates. Actually, just enjoy it and remember it. And that's what I tried to do.
And so you had those two, won the World Cup in 2011, won the World Cup on 2015. On paper, the same, but were they different?
Quite different. As I said, 2011, we just wanted to make sure we had enough tools to survive under pressure. From where we were, where we couldn't handle the pressure, we wanted to have enough in the tools in the box to be able to handle whatever came with us. And we did, and I always say we survived, but we reframed it and said, well, how do we go to being a team that just loves the pressure? And the bigger the moments, the more that comes at you, we want to see how good the opposition are. And I guess that's the bit that really excited me. And one of the things that I enjoyed, I guess I reflect on, is we went for a team that use the word choke and all that sort of stuff in 2007 to 2015, we were probably the team that was leading the way in dealing with those big moments, and we had a bunch of senior players that all were right in on that, and I guess that flowed down to the rest of the team. But we all, when it got tough, and those games between sort of 2012 and 2015, the ones I remember the most aren't the ones where we went and played well and won by a good number of good score. It was the ones where we had to dig ourselves out of a hole, and had to find a way to win. And it was great as time went on, because opposition started to sort of wait for the inevitable. And not that you did anything different, but you just sort of wait for those one or two opportunities, and bang, you nail it. And that's what I really loved.
How long did you keep that All Black jersey on, that last one?
As long as I could. I remember walking across the car park, boots, everything on, it was a good couple of hours after the game, but I knew once it was off, that was it.
And there was talk of a knighthood when you were playing. Where'd that end up?
Well, yeah. It kind of came about because prior to 2011, there was obviously a lot of talk about whether the All Blacks were going to be good enough to do it, and the PM at the time made some off-the-cuff remark. He said, well, if Richie wins, the team wins, Richie and Ted can get a knighthood. Bit off the cuff, we won, and so he decided to follow through on that. Well, he was going to, and I sort of managed to stop that, or cut that off, type of thing. We knew it. Yeah, but how would you can't turn up to the All Blacks with a sir, called a sir, when you're one of the boys. Like, I 100% respect what that stood for and all that, but for me, I just want to be one of the boys, and yeah.
Because it's amazing, because other people who've had a quarter of the success you've had are 3 times as arrogant. How have you managed to just stay so down to earth and humble? Because if someone offered me a knighthood, mate, I'd snap it quicker than you could. Sir Mick, how have you stayed so grounded?
Well, I don't know. It's a hard one to answer, because I guess if you live...
Can you sometimes look at your record and what you've done and think, gee, I was pretty good?
Oh, I guess when you finish, you reflect, and I reflect on my career. You're proud of what I did, and I know I gave everything I could, and and I'm certainly proud of some of the successes we had. But the thing is, with and I think it's a bit of a Kiwi way, is just because you're a good rugby player and do all these things doesn't mean you treat people different or you live any different. You're still the person you are, and I think one of the things in New Zealand is, because we're a small country, is most Kiwis have know an All Black or have an acquaintance that know of, and so it's not like completely unreachable, and you can go down to the pub and you might get people wanting photo or whatever, but they just treat you normally and leave you alone and get on with things, and I think that's pretty humbling. And I had a good bunch of mates that if I ever started to get a bit outside my station, they'd put me right back there straight away, and I suppose that was kind of good.
So how would you like to be remembered?
The thing is, a lot of people, and I probably for a while thought this, that people talk about all the achievements or the trophies or whatever, but at the end of the day, one of the things that drove me when I first started, and it was one of the things I really wanted to make sure carried on, is I wanted to earn the respect of the guys that played alongside you, because other people that know what it takes and what you're doing to help the team be successful, and they know when you take shortcuts or you do things wrong, and so that was my goal. Was I wanted my consistency of performance, how I turned up and stuff, to be so that they could trust me no matter the situation, and if that's how they remember me, they don't necessarily need to think I was their best mate or whatever, but respect what I did, how I did it, and that I did it for the right reasons. That's kind of, I guess, what I'll be getting remembered by.
And so my final question then, do you think you're a great All Black?
I always said that it would never ever be for me to judge. The thing is, I judged what I did every day by what I thought a great All Black should do, and I didn't always get it right. But that's the thing that drove me and helped me make decisions and helped me, I guess, have the drive to do what I did. And you know how someone judges that is up to them, but that is the way I tried to live, and as I say, it's never for me to say.
Well, I think everyone here would disagree. Richie McCaw, you are a great All Black. Thanks so much for coming tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Richie McCaw. So we're just going to do these final two draws. This is the business card draw.
Standing ovation is drawing the business card draw.
What's this thing? A dinner. So the prize for the business card draw is the night here in the Regency Club at King Room. You get drinks, canapes and breakfast. And the winner
is Anne Jones.
We have a winner. Yeah, come and grab it.
There we go. No problem. This is the third prize?
So this is the muscular dystrophy raffle. 5 prizes. So this is 5th prize, which is a Sony CyberShot digital camera.
Blue F29.
So blue ticket, F for Freddie, 29. F29, blue ticket, otherwise we will redraw. Oh no, we have a winner. Winner on this side for the camera. 4th prize is a twin pack of Myersfield Vineyards wine.
So 4th prize is green C24.
So C24, a greeny bluey colour. C24, greeny bluey. Anybody? Yep. That was the twin pack of Myersfield Vineyards wine. 3rd prize. This is 2 tickets with full hospitality in the Fit to Travel box at the Western Force game on the 28th of May. So this is a good one.
Blue F57.
Blue F for Freddie, 57. You've just won a box at the Force game. That's a good one.
Very good. Good man. Cheers.
So 2nd prize, this is the 2011 World Cup ball, signed by Richie.
Purple A62.
Purple A62. You've just won a World Cup rugby ball, signed by the great man. Do we have a winner? Yes. Come up and grab that. Ball's already here, ready to go. And then the major prize is the All Blacks jersey, again signed by Richie. It is.
Purple A70.
Oh, purple A70. So near the other winner. Purple. No.
Hey Mick, you came to the grave function. I'll have a chat with you after.
Yes. Because I've been trying to get on.
Ask him what advice to give the players. Will you cricket, New Zealand?
The ticket, hang on, for which one? The last one. Purple A70 was the last one. Oh, his was F. Worth a punt. You go to the letter and the number.
If I just have your attention, because I know it's not that late at night, but it is at my age. I just want to thank a few people. This event, I think most of you know in the room, because 90% of the people you see sitting around here have been with us from, I think, about a year and a half ago when this was originally penned in, and you've all stuck with it. It's quite incredible. So we really appreciate that. To the other guys at T14, I'm Brad, Mick and Ty, all the girls and guys that worked since about 9 a.m. this morning. Everyone's been fantastic. The Hyatt, they're always great. They're really lovely people. If you have any event, put it on here. They're just great to work with. To Tiny, who's on his way home to Harvey right now. He's magnificent, does a great job. Mick was MC. But no, Mick's great. He's exceptional. He did a great job tonight, and we always love having him here and hearing his story. And lastly, to Richie and Dean, God, it's been a long, hard travel to get it all done, but we did it. And we do a lot of these over the years with a lot of different sports, and I'll promise you, we've never dealt with people as good as these. They are just great people on and off the field. So thanks again, mate. Really appreciate it. Now, if you want to buy those prints, we still have some left, and the people that have bought the prints tonight or pre-ordered them, if you can move out the back there, Steve will get you in a nice gentle order. There's some bollards to move around. Once everyone with their dockets for the sales of the prints, or if you bought the jerseys that we bought earlier, head out there, and after that, more than welcome to get some autographs again. Thanks again for your patience for 2 years. You've just been incredible, and we really do appreciate it. To MTA and Blair and all the team, they've been great. To Lot 360 and Deb, magnificent. And to the guys and girls at Mineral Resources, we really appreciate your support. Without it, we couldn't have done what we've done. So thanks so much. And the charities, and thanks Gail, I know you're there. MD, been great with Hully, and Gail and the team for MSWA. Thanks heaps everyone, have a great night, drive careful.